First of all, I have to say that I'm unhappy that we don't have any women among us. It's always nicer, but maybe next time.
Maybe a different moderator next time.
Yeah. So, let's talk about the SME finances as a whole day, and I'm really happy of having here also the providers, the fintechs, and the software companies. Maybe Christian, let's start on the beginning, about the whole topic. How do you evaluate a pace of the digitalization in SME area lending this year, as the year is finishing? How you see, do we have an acceleration, slowdown? We are after the COVID period, so how do you see it now?
I'm not sure whether it's necessary. It's a very good question. Thank you, Michael. I'm not sure whether it's indeed an acceleration or a slowdown, but I see a little bit more substance in the topic. Yeah? Previously, it was what is technically feasible. And as you heard today also during the conference, it's also about what is really accepted by the customers, focusing more on what the customers want and not just what's technically possible.
Yep.
So therefore, I see a little bit more in-depth development. I'm not sure whether this means an acceleration, but I see it more substantial, I would say.
Maybe some of you like to add something to that, like a general view, how this this year is almost finished, looks like, especially after this period of this, let's say the break, which we have after the COVID. Balázs, I see that.
Let me continue because we are the market leader bank in this region at least. Picture is a bit mixed because on the different markets we see totally different development. So you were mentioning a longer time frame from the COVID. For sure, we had a boom in the lending needs, but more important is the last 1.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That in this new after the war, in this new area of gas and all of those prices bumping up, huge inflation. So this has an impact. But this is a very selected one. So we still have countries where there is demand and the loan books are growing. But there are really other ones where we are really not saying we stopped lending, but the demand as such is not there anymore. So again, picture mixed. So far after the COVID region, we were totally agreeing with you. But from the war started, kicked in, and especially in all markets, we are represented, unfortunately, with the suffering countries as well. It's a totally mixed picture.
Just as you mentioned, you are also present in Ukraine. How is the situation now? As is, I think, important topic just to know.
Ukraine is simply amazing because we are still lending in Ukraine. There are still many companies coming for loans, coming for lending. So, which me personally, and this is purely a personal sharing, if I may do that I never ever imagined that the country which is bombed, which is in war, and there are entrepreneurs who are still continuing the actions, and agriculture simply needs that you need to put the growths, they need to do the seedings, they need to harvest. Cafeterias are still open, branches needs to be open, you still need to manage the cash flows, the cash needs of the customers. On the other hand side, it's still true for Belarus, it's still true for Russia. So it's very difficult to judge the situation. But let's focus on that part for whom we are here, for the SMEs, because SMEs are individuals in each of the countries and they are not stopping activities, they are continuing it.
I think this is what you just said about the behavior of the entrepreneurs in Ukraine. It shows how SMEs are flexible, how SMEs are strong. I think in many economies, in Central and Eastern Europe, even here in Poland, the SMEs are a core of the all. Of course, the GDPR is produced by also the big companies, but I can say we because I was also an entrepreneur. Now I'm not, but I had this experience. We're more flexible. That's why we can adjust even to such a difficult situations, environment, which is war.
It's not only for me. It's about survival.
Yes.
Survivor, restarting. Let me bring another example. I was having a holiday a year ago. I was in Ceylon, Sri Lanka. There was a guy who was driving us from one city to the other, and he told to me that finally, after 15 years being in this industry, I was able to put the down payment for my first van. And I had a van. I was driving tourists. And then COVID kicked in, and the whole country and the tourism almost collapsed. And the guy was it was beginning of this year. So after 2-3 years of COVID, he was driving a car which he was asking from somebody else to earn money. And he, with sparkling eyes, told to me that now I will put the down payment for my new tuk-tuk. So it's not a van anymore, it's a tuk-tuk. But he was totally knocked down. Van was taken by the leasing company. He restarted. And yes, I didn't want to bring this Ukrainian or Russian example, but another one from far, far away, another part of the globe. But I truly believe that SMEs, micros, middle ones, they are really based on family businesses. They simply must to survive, and they will survive. That's for sure.
Thank you very much for this this outcome. Maybe just a few words about this topic. How this year was from your perspective, after we'll go deeper to the products and everything?
From our little point of view from Monero, because we are lenders or online lenders in Czech and Slovakian market, and also in Benelux, I can
Czech and Slovakia.
Yeah, Czech and Slovakia, not Czechoslovakia.
I'm so old, but I remember that it was one country back then, you know. I remember Czechoslovakia as a one country.
It's Czech and Slovak, not Czechoslovak. But I can say that we are growing, you know, because as you told, SMEs are really flexible and they are trying to use these opportunities to benefit from them. Even if it's in the first look, it could look like, you know, it's negative thoughts, but they are trying to benefit from that somehow.
Yep.
And of course, they are trying to be more careful. And if I compare the Western European mentality of the SMEs, I would say that they are, you know, really more open-minded and straightforward because they are used to get a loan for some kind of investment opportunities, and they are almost, you know, trying to look forward to it. And in the Czech and Slovakian market, I can see a huge difference from my marketing perspective view.
Wait a second. Like as I have you, I think that you are like a great example of expanding business, going more to the product. We'll come back to the market. Don't worry. You begin in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, and now you expand to Europe. You are representing this embedded finance fintech, which is, I think, something which is really growing. I will also ask you more about it. How you assess the European market of the embedded finance? How you see the market? Maybe let's start off this here, CE, but also broader.
Even on CE market and the Western European market, most crucial thing for us is to have a strong, powerful partner in our back. And for us right now, it's KB, Komerční banka from Czech Republic, and it's our credit associator. And of course, Société Générale, which is a French bank. And that is, I think, the first important thing. And the second one is to find a right partner in that country. You know, for example, in Dutch, we found two biggest e-commerce platforms.
Yeah.
And we need those kinds of partnerships for every in each country, because we are working with the merchants, with the SMEs, who are using these platforms. So we really need those platforms and have these partnerships and API integrations and things like that, because we need the data flow from the platform to make a scoring and risk assessments and things like that, and give them the offer of financing.
So on the one hand, you have a financing from banks. You mentioned two of them. And on the other hand, you have e-commerce platforms for businesses where you deploy your product, yes?
Yeah, that's it.
And I think this example shows something amazing in fintech world. Is first, you have banks which finance fintech because we have a bank here. They are not able to do it alone. This is the question, why? You mentioned two big banks. One is French group, huge one. Why they're not able to do it alone? Why they need you as an intermediary and they're losing some part of their margin?
Should I answer it?
Yeah. You can be frank. We have only Raiffeisen here and some Polish banks in the audience. So
Yeah, maybe a quick answer. I can totally agree with you that I think that the banks are aware of the lack of the technology and digitalization progress on their own because they have a huge bureaucracy, and I can see it that it's hard for them, to develop so quickly. So some of the banks are now understand the problem and they are trying to look for the easiest solution. And I think that in this case it's a fintech or cooperation or something like that.
yeah, maybe let's have an answer from the bank, and also I will ask you about it.
My smile is a bit artificial, I need to admit here. True. Once we will speak about our transformation project, you will see that it started 4 years ago. 2 years we were using only for creating a concept, 1 year for getting the approval, half year of making a decision, do we do on our own or we are buying from somebody. Another 9 months to select that from whom we should buy. And the technical development was 2 years. 1 year probably about setting up the infrastructure, being able to gather and pull in the data. And purely setting up the BPM, the decision engine, doing all the parameterization for many various markets, it was, let's say, 6 months. Currently, we are doing it in 3 months. So yes, we are slow, but once the giant walks up, then there will be a challenge for you guys. This is what I can promise.
Of course. Understand. Yeah, I just like to add, as you and Marcin, you are providers of some solutions which can help grow banks, but also fintechs. Maybe just to the discussion. Let's stick to this topic, which is amazing.
Yeah, maybe one comment from my side, because I represent KRIV, and we are service provider for, let's say, the banks, yeah, from one hand, and for the other hand, also we provide additional services for the e-commerce entities, and also we try to support SMEs. And what is my observation? In one hand, when I cooperate with the banks, they want to act as a e-commerce, and they want to act somehow like a marketplaces.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, e-commerce want to act and maybe learn something from the banks. And there is some kind of a balance between the knowledge sharing, the technology sharing between them. And I think that the crucial at the moment is to get that balance and to, let's say, allow banks to somehow act as a e-commerce, because customers expect it. Because when I'm as a consumer, when I use the e-commerce platforms and services like BNPL, I also want to be able to use similar products and solution in case I providing the business, yeah, as a B2B partner.
Understand.
Because also from my observation, when we provide solutions, data for the BNPL entities, we also observe that there is a, let's say, huge opportunity to support that entities in case of operating with the customers, but also with the business entities.
Yes.
Yeah? So we can observe that BNPL growing since the pandemic time, and I think that it's a huge opportunity for the banks, for the fintechs, and also e-commerce to try to cooperate between and try to catch that balance.
Yeah, I will be in this cooperation in a minute. Just Marcin, as from your perspective, because it's an amazing case. I love this case. You know, when you have the fintech in the middle, you have bank, and you have e-commerce platforms. So, like, let's see, as you are also supporting fintechs with amazing tools, which you showed.
We work both with financial institutions, banks, fintechs, as well companies that work in merchandise credit.
Yes.
So there is also important. It is typically not recognized as a lending business, but in fact it is. So banks, banks are organizations that works slowly. They have a long-term roadmaps. There is, of course, need for digitalization going on, but it is some stable, slow process. And we have a lot of open projects, but every of the projects takes months, years. But in the other hand, we see a huge demand from this fintech sector and these companies who work with merchandise credit. Now there's a lot of new companies on the market that start their business, that have been working for 2-3 years on small scale, gathering some knowledge and knowledge about market and gathering also data for build the internal systems.
Yes.
And now they're kicking with the process of digitalization, and there are very quick and rapid processes projects. In 3 months, we need to deliver whole infrastructure, models, data. And of course, I see very huge demand for this technology for lending for these companies who work with merchandise credit, because in many cases for them it is one of the crucial element of being competitive on market. But giving their customers credit,
Yes.
it is something that can generate them extra revenue, new customers.
Of course.
Because especially now when the macroeconomic situation is worse, where companies have worse financial results, external financing is something that is very valued by these companies.
Thank you.
SME companies.
Thank you for this. And there is also an option to digitalize banks, which you do. Your company does. You can help also to help banks being more digitalized and compete with the fintechs.
Right, and in addition to everything what my colleagues have said, I think there are two more aspects in that. One, of course, yes, the banks are conservative and the banks are slow, but that's on purpose because the banks also are stable, and in the end, they are sort of a utility function. And as such, you don't want them to be too adventurous. You want them to have a certain slow development. But of course, the collaboration with a fintech, which mitigates the risk. I'm just collaborating. I'm not putting this all in-house. I can cancel that collaboration if it doesn't work anymore, but I can test that. And that's certainly a beneficial factor. On the other hand, of course, it was extremely difficult up until recently to drive a fintech against the wall. There were no interest rates. Liquidity was plenty, so it was really difficult to fail as a fintech. Now we see that fintechs have some challenges on occasion as well, specifically around funding, but also in long-term client relationships. And that's an opportunity for banks to catch up again, maybe get them in-house, maybe have them as a credit as a service, or find the previous fintech employee or entrepreneur as a department head. There are options that goes both ways. So I don't think that fight is over, or I think there's a winner or a loser. There will be a collaboration for some time to find the right business model, and there's an option for various parts, for the fast-moving fintech, but also for the slower-moving long-term client relationship, because one aspect is, of course, important for the SME. It's not just about dispersing the next product. It's also about being around, as you mentioned before, during a crisis, having somebody in the bank you can talk to as a relationship manager if there's a problem to manage, if there's a need for restructuring, if there's a need for a postponement of services. That's where fintechs in the past were not as strong because they lacked that physical, that knowledge of the customer. So it's a wave, and I think it's an interesting observation and gives opportunities to many different business models.
So we just discussed this left side, so the funding and the bank situation, but I think in this competing market, we also have these e-commerce platforms with which we have to work. And this is also, I think, amazing because, for example, what we see in Poland, we have an amazing example here in Poland on the Polish market, where there was a very innovative BNPL company which starts to work as you with the big e-commerce platforms. I think we can mention the name, the biggest e-commerce platform in Poland, Allegro. But after just, I think even less than 1 year, Allegro as an e-commerce platform starts to support their customers with their own BNPL product. And now Allegro's product is bigger, is the biggest in the Polish market, one of the biggest in the Central and Eastern Europe. So the e-commerce bypass the fintech and is having their own risk management, their own fintech inside, and they are the biggest in the market. So I see there are like now 3 competitors in this lending market. You have banks, you have fintechs, and you have e-commerces. This is also the question about the future. So maybe let's talk about that maybe more. How you see this? Because in the situations is what one thing. The one who is winning in the situations are the companies which support all of them. You support with the risk management, with also risk management and the data, yeah? So where's the future? Maybe the question to you guys. So with who will be your future customer? Banks, e-commerces, fintechs?
I think that the crucial for us as a, let's say, service provider for the banks and e-commerce entities is to cooperate with, let's say, whole spectrum, yeah? Because in case that we'll, let's say, want to cooperate only in one, let's say, leader as a bank, for example, or e-commerce, and we'll close the relationship with the different source of the revenue and the different source of even products, it will be hard to let's say, have the stable situation. And I think that, as you mentioned, there is a specific situation on the market that e-commerce platform want to also provide for the customers additional values.
Yes.
They create the fintechs, let's say, that, for example, providing the BNPL solutions, but also the banks, let's say, want to do something very common because of fact, for example, PKO Pay and Alior Bank in Poland also
they already started this BNPL.
The new product, Allegro Pay, Alior Pay, and from the PKO perspective, there is also additional product for the customers. And from my perspective, I would say that we have to try to get that balance and cooperate with, let's say, all of them to make sure that it will be, let's say, win-win situation, for all of us, for the banks, for service providers and e-commerce.
Yeah, Marcin, probably as you established the company a few years ago, you started probably collaboration first with fintechs, yeah? As I could remember.
Yes, with fintechs, but also with these companies who do some kind of lending processes for also SME businesses, but are not fintechs, but any.
Okay, let's
bank.
call them like a not banking, like
utilities or something like.
Like not banking.
Yes.
So how you see the future? Who will be your main customer?
I think the innovation incubator still will be this fintech sector and this. Not the banking sector, because of course there are a lot of features that support this. There's less regulations, smaller organizations, organizations that are focused on high growth. So they are aggressive. Yeah, they want to acquire a lot of customers. They have raise a lot of funds and rise quickly. So of course the innovation, but also banks we will follow after that because for banks also these fintech companies are also huge competitors. Yeah. If they start to working quickly, they will have very good credit assessment systems, and they will not finance bad customers. They start to be important competitors for traditional financial institutions. So I think innovation will be triggered by the fintechs.
Yes.
But financial institutions will follow after these innovations.
Talking about innovation, talking about the processes, is it now possible having so many processes, having so many companies who are delivering so many face recognition, credit scoring, engines, AI, everything, is now possible in 2023, 2024 to build a fully automated digital customer onboarding, like 100%, everything from your perspective?
From the technology perspective, I believe yes. But there is second part, access to the data and quality of the data. There is still a lot of work to do. I know that, for example, European Union, from the regulatory point of view, do a lot to allow data sharing and build some legal framework to make it happen. So the main problem is that still we don't have easy access to all data required to make automatic assessment, especially for the new customer. Because if you have a customer that have a long relationship with us, it is possible, as you mentioned yesterday about your bank who finance your family for generations, yeah. So you have very long relationships, and they can make a decision quick because they know you well. But for the new customers, we need to easy access to data and good quality data. And the second problem is that the data are fragmented. Even in, for example, European Union, in different countries, there are different level of access to this data and the different methods of provided by governments, some data by banks, exchange. It's a lot of work in this data. If we solve this problem as a whole market, I think it will be possible to make automatic assessment. It also depends on the scale of ticket, yeah. So
of course,
if you borrow small amount of money for a short period of time, now it is possible to automate.
In payday loans we see it. Yeah.
If it is a big amount of money and the risk concentration on the one customer is huge, of course it requires manual evaluation.
Because are the collaterals and everything. Yeah.
Yes.
From your perspective, Kamil.
I will totally agree that from the technical point of view, there is, let's say, no issue because of the fact that at the moment we have so many different systems, tools, solutions, approaches. And from my perspective, I think that the biggest blocker will be the regulations. Yeah, because of the fact that, of course, we always want to be more flexible, but in case of financial institutions, there is always, let's say, the challenge, maybe not the issue, with the regulations, because financial institutions are the institution of the public trust.
Yes.
Yeah, and we always have to pay attention about the regulations and the law, because that is from my perspective, the biggest blocker. Yeah, because the legislation is changing so fast, and maybe not so fast to meet the challenges of the market from the technical point of view, but there is a lot of areas to cover, like ESG, like AI, machine learning, and so on, that I think that the legislation will be the biggest blocker.
Yeah. Perspective of the bank, just what I think should be emphasized now, Raiffeisen Bank International got 2 rewards here in SME Banking Club Conference in the last years. Tatra Bank in Slovakia and Raiffeisen Czech Republic was awarded as a top banks in the best SME lending. Congratulations for that. But it's not just, it's because you did a lot. And last time you also transformed and digitalized SME lending journey in next countries, in Albania, yes, Romania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Croatia. And I got some numbers which are really amazing, how you transform the process from days to minutes. If you can say a few things about it, like.
quick question to the audience. Have you ever tried to write down your own name 690 times?
Like one time in a row.
Yeah.
Maybe some
Do you have a guess that how much minutes you need to write down your own name 690 times? How long is it? Your own name?
few hours.
1 hour.
2,
1
3.
hour, few hours. Okay. If you are fast enough, it's 34 minutes.
Oh, really?
34 minutes. And the 690 is an interesting number because these were the fields which we were asking in Albania from a single loan only for an overdraft renewal. We know the customer, he is with us for 10 years, but in every year we were asking 690 fields. And not the own name of the company, not the name of the owner, but financials.
Yeah.
In reality, even the owner's wife blood type we were asking, believe me. And this is from where we started, and yes, we are making a decision in 30 minutes, and we are doing the disbursement in 60 minutes. So within an hour, you got the
16
money.
minutes.
Yeah, and you got the money up to €500,000. So it's not the private entrepreneur is coming in and buying some. No, it's real stuff and hard stuff. So there was this transformation. But coming back to your question that, yes, on a stage of a conference, it's fancy, we did blah, blah.
Oh, this conference is fancy.
But my answer to all of these questions is it theoretically possible? Yes, it is. But for whom? Because SME as such is a very simple word. But still there is the micro, there is the small. Behind the SME, we have the single entry and the double entry and the flat taxpayer. Behind that, we have the ownership structure of the private individual, of a legal entity, or a legal entity owned by another legal entities. And then we have the different geographies where legally you can do remote identification, you can do remote contracting, and there are other geographies where you cannot.
Yes.
So the simple answer is not so simple. It's not black, it's not white. Yes. On the stage here, it's a yes, we can do and we will do and we will transform everything. But if you do a double click, we see that in some cases, in some countries, in some customer segments, it's just purely an automatic decision. And then still a human is needed. And then maybe a remote identification contracting is not possible. But there are components, and here I totally agree with all of you, that technology is just booming. It's just booming. It's extremely fast, and there will always be components which we can reuse in the different stage of this automatization of the entire lending process and lending flow. So more to come. Technically doable, even legally doable, even in some cases immediately doable. But the way we are moving, and I remember how we started that in some countries, the network banks were the ones who reached out to the local regulators and pushed them to have remote this, remote that contracting. So even if you are big enough, and maybe it's difficult for the fintechs, but if you are an old traditional big guy and you go there, they start to listen to you, and the whole environment is changing slowly, but I believe we will get there. So let's agree with the yes, it's doable.
Christian, I see that you like to add something.
I think on the whole discussion, it's actually quite interesting. You brought up the buy now, pay later, which from my perspective is not necessarily an SME product, other than the idea that you as an SME can sell your product to a consumer.
But we also have buy now, pay later for SMEs.
Of course, but right now, look, buy now, pay later for me is benefiting from the idea that you want to have something and you are willing to pay a higher price for that. That is not necessarily the traditional SME entrepreneur that you were just elaborating on. Yeah, that's that guy needs a subscription to a working capital that is continuously available, not necessarily the ad hoc payment. He needs that service now, next year, and every year. And he needs to be around, and this needs to be available because you know the customer well and you can work with him. So, where exactly that pans out is really around that relationship centricity that I had it in my workshop yesterday with Michael Ruckman there as well, to talk about what is it really that the client needs, and there needs to be one counterpart. That could very well be the bank from my perspective to manage that relationship. And whether you produce everything on your own or whether you rely on a fintech to supply certain services, that's a different thing. It could be the marketplace, it could be somebody else, but it needs to be one place that is that it's not the horse whisperer, it's the SME whisperer, the one who really understands what this SME needs to be in the long term successful, as well as being approachable. And how we compose this under the surface in collaborations, in insourcing, or in the ability to have a buy now, pay later for the consumers to buy my products. That's something that we have to figure out together, but outside and need to provide that service. That's what we owe to the SME actually as a service at the end.
So let's talk about future, as we have just exactly 5 minutes. What will be the products of the future for SMEs? Let's think about 24, 25. For sure, I think we are somewhere around embedded finance. It works, we know, it's obvious. There is this new lending as a service. But also think about the young generation. They are not only in a retail banking, but the generation Z is also now, they are also entrepreneurs. They start their own businesses, first, second businesses. So how to finance them? What will be the products? Let's focus on this financing because it's most important, I think, for SMEs. Maybe, Jiri, if you can start.
Yeah, I think that for in the future, financing and lending, it will have to be, embedded in their well-known place and administration of the tools or platforms they are using to do their business. And of course, it's going to must be automated. So for example, we've got a unique product, revenue-based financing, for the clients with payment services providers, and payment service providers, I would say.
Yes.
And the repayments are automatically in here. So it's much more easy for these merchants, and I think that this is going to be future. Digitalized, fully automated, and embedded financing in the best known environment for the SMEs.
So where the young generation is, so maybe financing on a TikTok.
Yeah, maybe so.
Kamil?
I think that also from our point of view, we observe the situation that the younger generation and the whole market also pay attention to the, let's say, green products and the green finance. And
yes.
Also there is a, let's say, huge impact of the SMEs to that area, because of the fact that SMEs are the, let's say, in a quantity, there are so massive in case of influence for the big companies like banks, in case of the participants of the supply chain, value chain. And I think that the banks, of course, understand that they have to move to more greener, let's say, products and financing, and also the expectation of the market is in that also the consumers and SMEs expect such ideas, such products.
Yeah, this is also a topic about these green things. I'm just mention, I live in Berlin, and in Germany there are a few banks who offer an account which is like a green account, meaning that they use, it's very funny, they use less paper to, I don't know, to make processes connected with these customers who have these green accounts. And what is funny, to have such an account, it's 2-3 times more expensive than having a normal banking account. But it's a very German thing. Marcin, from your perspective, future, next 2 years,
I think
generations.
I think products and the way they are constructed, they still be the same. If you look at the financial services in medieval times, you can find a lot of similarities with what we have now. But this digitalization and ability to quick onboarding new customers may generate some intermediate level of companies who make some marketplaces or places when we need to connect a SME company with some needs, with a lot of offer that can be checked instantly and very well connected with a good financing provider. So I think this technology can make this market more competitive because of speed of making decisions. So we can check a lot of offers in very short time, not one offer a month, because of long processes.
Balthus?
I didn't like the question, and I will explain to you why. 4 weeks ago, another story. 4 weeks ago, I was on a wedding. And the wedding, the young couple said that we get to know each other on Tinder. But the funny thing was that not the girl was swiping the guy, but the girl's mother. So the mother-in-law was swiping somebody based on that there was a marriage. During that marriage, the father-in-law, the founder of an SME company, 5 million euro annual turnover, said that I'm going retired because I founded this 30 years ago when the changing of the regimes in these markets happened. I'm tired enough. Here is the company, 5 million. So a guy took over the 5 million euro company who made a decision getting married on Tinder. 1 picture, 2 seconds. And the reason why I didn't like the question is that you were asking what are the products of the future. In reality, nobody likes us. We are bankers, you are financing, nobody needs you. What the customers need, it's a solution.
Yes.
I need a machine, I have a business opportunity, I need whatever, a business case, a plot,
Yes.
whatever. We need to understand this and we need to offer a solution, invisible, immediate, not even products. Nobody knows what a working capital loan is, what's a term working capital, what's
Yes.
revolving, and nobody knows. So I believe if we don't want to be dinosaurs here and having old school type of dating not in there anymore, this is what we need to learn, that the world is changing so rapidly that even our words which we are using needs to be changed. So it's not about product, it's about understanding, it's about providing immediate solutions.
Thank you very much for this, and just like to wrap up, Christian.
I just a small joke on your Tinder example. I mean, even Tinder doesn't believe in its own product. Otherwise, they wouldn't sell a 1-year subscription to it. Yeah?
Okay.
But talking about
True.
subscription, I think in the line of what you said, I think the way is towards embedded finance and subscriptions. That indeed we offer solutions. You don't finance a storage home, you rent a storage space and you put in the financing cost into that rent. Or you lease, I mean, actually you're not just leasing a car, but you're basically subscribing to a transportation opportunity that you continuously finance, and you offer that SME, whatever transportation service is necessary, whether this is now the mail, the FedEx, or the own transport. Those are the things we need to provide. These subscription ideas, the same way like in the US, as a consumer, you now can subscribe to the iPhone. You no longer have to buy an iPhone, you have a subscription with Apple, and every 2 years they send you a new phone automatically. So that is basically solving your problems and then putting the finance in the back, because, as you said, nobody really cares about that finance. Let that do the banks in the end. Yeah?
Thank you very much. Let's see what future will bring us. Thank you very much. And let's move to the next break. Thank you very much.